Hey, how are you? Well, if you're just joining me on the Wooden Vanity project, today I'm going to build the top. I'm building the top out of solid cherry, and I've already cross-cut the boards to a rough length, run them through the joiner, and cut a few slots for biscuits, and now I'm ready to glue the boards up. I let the glue set up overnight, and now I'll unclamp the top, give it a quick sanding, and then I can fit the top to the cabinet. I finished giving the top a quick sanding, and you may have noticed that I sanded across the grain first, and I'll often do that with a solid wood top because I find it helps to level the boards out, and then I'll sand with the grain. Now, I'll need to remove about 4.5 inches from this side of the top, and I think the best way to do that is to rip the 4.5 inches off, remove this area, and then join the front back to the top on the right side of the cabinet. Okay, well this looks pretty good, so now I'll use the biscuit joiner again and reattach the front. Well, it's another new day, and I let the glue set up overnight. Came in this morning, unclamped the top, and sanded the top down to 80 grit with the orbital sander. Eventually, I'll sand the whole top down to 220, but before I do that, I want to cut the hole out for the sink. The sink will come with a pattern, and what I like to do is cut the pattern out first, and then draw a few indication lines on where I want the sink on the vanity top, and then I'll tape the pattern down. I've drawn a few reference lines on the top of the vanity, and these reference lines represent the inside of the cabinet. And it's really important that when you build the cabinet, you build it large enough to accept the sink. And you can see I've cut it pretty close here with just 1/4 inch on each side. I'll use a jigsaw to cut out the opening for the sink, and you can see that I've propped the vanity top off of the work table with a few 2x4s, and I'll also need to drill a couple of access holes for the jigsaw blade, and for that I'll use a 3/8 inch drill bit. Well, now that I've got the sink fit into the top of the vanity, the next step is to use a router and run a chamfer along the bottom edge. And I'm going to do that because it'll give the top a lighter, more elegant look. I'll use a sharp utility knife to clean up this inside corner. I also want to add a backsplash to the top of the vanity, and this board looks a little tall, so I'll rip it down to 2 1/4. I think that looks a little bit better, but I'm going to soften it up a bit more by running a chamfer on the front edge. Before I attach the backsplash to the top of the vanity, I'm going to finish sand the top first, and since I've already sanded 80 grit on the orbital sander, I'm going to move on to 120 on the palm sander, and then eventually 220 on the palm sander. Well, that's all for this week. Next week I'll be finishing the top of the cabinet, and I know a few people are wondering how I'm going to do that, since I think they're a little concerned about the fact that the cabinet will be in the bathroom and moisture, and I'll go over all of that in next week's video. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time.